What's up, guys? We're here today with another video. Got the crew cab pulled out. Gonna be doing a little maintenance on it. So as you can see, there's some spots right here in my garage, and that is from the rear differential leaking. So we're gonna swap the rear diff fluid and put a new gasket on there. So let's get started. Here we go. So there's two retainer clips for the brake line. I just snuck a flathead screwdriver under there and just twist it a little bit. Comes right up. I'm just gonna break all these loose first. Alright, so they're all broken loose. Before I pull it off, I'm going to show you guys something. People are always asking how to tell what gear ratio they have in their axles. Right here on the left side, there's this tag that's kind of held on by the two bolts over here on the left. And this tells you your gear ratio. So mine's 354. That's one location that you can tell the gear ratio. The other location's actually up under the hood. But I'm stuck down here, so I'm not going to go show you that right now. This is probably the best spot to see it at. So, alright, got all those broken free. So what I'm going to do is pull all of them out except the very bottom one and the very top one, and then we'll get to that point. And then last thing, and I should have probably done this before I took all those out, but it's not a big deal. Before you pull the pumpkin cover off, test and make sure you can get, this is the fill cap right here. Make sure you can get this thing loose, because you don't want to pull this off, drain it all out, and then not be able to get the fill plug loose and be able to refill it. So I'm going to test that right now. Yeah, so mine came loose, so that's just kind of a little tip that not many people will mention, but you don't want to pull this off and be kind of up the creek without a paddle if you can't fill it back up. So I've got everything out except the bottom and the top. I'm going to pull the bottom one out now. And I'm going to leave the top one in there, just kind of loosened up a little bit. So that what I'm going to do is just kind of pry the bottom off, let all the fluid drain out, and this will hold the cover up here so it doesn't fall into the fluid and stuff. Alright, so what I'm going to do now, most of that's drained out. I'm going to pull this last bolt and then pull the cover off and go over to my utility sink and kind of clean it up. For a future date, I'm actually going to come under here and undercoat a lot of this, clean it up, undercoat it, make it look nice. It's too cold out today to do that though. So for you that are saying, well, why don't you clean it all up and paint it while it's off and stuff, yeah, that's the best idea, but it's too cold out to get undercoat to actually set up well. Okay, so while that keeps draining, I'm gonna go, I'll take you guys with me over to the utility sink. We'll clean this out and start cleaning off the old gasket and clean up around here. There's a lot of gunk and stuff. Get it nice and get this mating surfaces nice and clean, and then we'll move from there. So just using some brake parts cleaner. And some shop towels. Now it's not absolutely necessary to clean all this inside stuff out, but hey, why not? Alright, got all the gunk off of it. Still not perfect, but like I said, when it warms up, I'm going to really clean this thing up and actually paint it. Make it look nice. So now back to the other side. You can see there's some old RTV kind of gasket material on here. I want to get that off, clean up the mating surface. Make sure when you do this, use a plastic scraper. If you use a metal one, you can scratch the surface and you're guaranteed to get leaks if that happens. So use a plastic scraper. All right, there she is. There's some, this just looks, this isn't gasket, it's just some type of pitting or something that maybe water seeped in through there and pitted it just a little bit. But there's plenty of surface that's clean, so it'll hold just fine. So let's go clean up the other mating surface and then we'll put it all back together. All right, here we are back into the truck. So you can see there's much more gasket material on this side than there was on the cover. So again, use a plastic scraper and just take your time and scrape it all off. Alright, I've got everything scraped off. Doesn't look as good as it should, but that's, the RTV has kind of stained and worked in there. So I'm going to try spraying it with some brake cleaner. See if that can break some of it out. And then, alright, there we go. And then a little Scotch-Brite pad, and that's cleaning it right out. So, we'll do that around the whole thing. That worked really well, so don't feel like you have to scrape it till it's nice and shiny, because especially if whoever did this before you used RTV, it gets into the milling grooves and just kind of stains it a little bit. But that brake parts cleaner and the Scotch-Brite pad cleaned it up real nice. Alright, we are ready to put the new gasket on and put the cover back on. So I'm just going to use a Felpro gasket that I picked up. I'd rather use this than RTV. That's what I've read is the best option. Here's the part number if you want to pause that to look at this part number. But make sure when you check your, there's a couple different style pumpkins depending on what gear ratio you have. So don't use this part number unless you know it's the exact match as mine. So let's go ahead and put that on and we'll put it all back together and fill it up. There she is. Whoever did this before, he used copious amounts of RTV. There was RTV all over in the threads of the bolts, and just gobbed all over them. So it took a minute to get it all cleaned up, but we are rocking and rolling now. All right, the last thing we need to do is torque these down. So the factory service manual torque specs for the differential cover bolts is 35 foot-pounds. So I'm going to set this to 15 foot-pounds first. We'll torque it to that, and then we'll go again and do to 35. And you know, it's just like putting on lugs on a tire, but always go in a star pattern. So we're going to start over here. All right, now to 35 foot-pounds. So we're going to put this brake line back on. Just a little tap with a mount and a punch. There we go. We're ready to fill it up. So for fluid, I'm using just from O'Reilly 7590 gear oil. Alright, so you fill it until it just starts trickling out. So that's the fill level, is the bottom of the fill hole. So as soon as it starts trickling out, that's it. Put the plug back in. Go. And there it is. So we'll see. I'll give you guys an update in a couple weeks and see if it's leaking or not, but looks to be pretty good. Alright, so my takeaways from today's video: this took longer than I thought it would, and what took the longest was cleaning the gasket off of the mating surfaces, cleaning the gunk off the bolts and off the outer portion of the pumpkin. So remember, like this video, we're going to be traveling down to California in about a week to pick up that white first gen. I've got a couple videos coming out before then, but got good things coming for the channel. So thanks for tuning in, thanks for the support, and we'll see you guys in the next video.